It was late, probably around 10 o'clock or so, and for some reason I decided to check out the free section of my favorite website, and to my absolute shock, someone had posted an ad giving away a trimmer. The ad had a picture of a trimmer on the curb, and it was obvious that it was at night because the camera had to use the flash. I jumped in the car and drove straight over there, only to find this snapper trimmer still sitting in the exact same place shown in the picture. In today's video, we look at this snapper trimmer, and the problem is that according to the ad, it's really hard to start, and if it does start, it doesn't run like it's supposed to. That's the reason they gave it away. They were finally fed up with it. Now, I'm going to try and repair this trimmer, however, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. Now, we're only going to mention what these other options could be. We don't have enough time to look into them, but if you need more information on these options, you're welcome to ask as many questions as you need to. Now, to be honest, I really thought the reason it's not running like it's supposed to was because of this trimmer head. There's so much mass here, and there's basically 8 strings on here. The load on the engine must be immense. I really thought that until I realized this trimmer has a very large 27cc engine, which is more than enough power to deal with this trimmer head. The first thing I want to do is to try and start it with the fuel that's inside the tank. You never know, the fuel could be stale, and that's the reason why it's having issues. Now, most people will only buy gasoline at the beginning of the season and use it all through the year, and by then it could start to have some issues. According to the starting instructions, we need to press the bulb a bunch of times, flip the red lever, and then pull the rope until it starts. Unfortunately, it didn't even try and start, which is a bit strange considering it did try and start in the shorts video I posted the other day. Now, even though it did start before, I need to confirm that we have spark and compression. To help with both tests, I'd like to remove the recoil and the rear engine cover. The reason I want to remove the rear cover is for easier access to the spark plug, and the recoil is also hiding the drill start for this engine. With the recoil gone, we can see the receiver for the drill start, which will make a compression test much easier to do. Now, you don't need to remove the recoil to do the test, I just wanted to use it since it was there. Now, the guard over the spark plug to protect it is a real pain to work around, so that's the reason why I removed the rear cover. Now, to use the compression tester, we need to screw it into the spark plug opening. While the plug is out, we can also check on the condition of the spark plug. Surprisingly, the plug is covered in a lot of carbon. That means we need to remove the carbon before we install it. There's a few reasons why the carbon builds up on the plug, and they're all easily avoidable with a bit of information. Now, the first reason why carbon would build up on the spark plug would be an air filter that was completely blocked with dirt. This would cause the engine to run rich with extra fuel, and that extra fuel would then collect on the spark plug. The other reason is too much oil mixed in with the gasoline. To find out if that's our reason, I'll pour out the fuel later on. The other reason would be not running the engine at full speed enough and letting it basically idle. This would cause the engine temperatures to be very low and cause the carbon to build up on the inside of the engine, and also leading to a clogged spark arrestor screen. If possible, run the engine at part to full throttle when using it and only let it idle for a very short time. Now, the compression tester will show us how much pressure the engine can make on the compression stroke. The more pressure, the better. If the engine is worn out, it'll explain some of the symptoms we're seeing. We want to see a reading well over 100 psi, and we don't want to see a reading below 50. Now, the drill adapter looks like an Allen key, but it only has 5 sides instead of 6. When using it, just make sure the drill is turning in the correct direction. So the reading is about 105 psi, which isn't terrible, however it's not great either. What the compression tester is telling us is that the engine has more than enough compression to run, but it does have some wear on it. Since I have the drill out, I want to try and use it to help get the engine started. Now, after replacing the spark plug, I'll put some fuel into the carb's throat, squeeze the trigger, and let the drill try and start the engine. So unfortunately, it didn't even try and start yet again, which is really strange considering it did it in the shorts video. For those of you who didn't see it, here's a clip of it. My only guess as to why it's having a tough time starting now is because it's flooded with fuel from several failed attempts to start it. However, I still want to pour out the fuel and examine its condition. As you can see, the color looks fine, and by the smell, it still smells like fresh gasoline, so I don't think the fuel is the issue. Just to prove my point, I'll be putting the same fuel back into the tank later on. Now, if you're still not convinced that the engine is in working condition, I'm going to check that the engine does have spark by using a spark checker. If there's an orange glow in the tester, it means we have spark. If you need one of these, there should be a link in the description. As you can see, there was an orange glow in the tester while spinning over the engine. As of right now, I'm pretty certain that the engine does run because it has spark, compression, and even though the engine didn't start for us, I'm still very certain that it's worth fixing. And the most likely reason why it won't start is because the carb has a serious issue where it basically floods the engine. Before I try and fix this trimmer, I'm going to give it a quick cleaning. The reason I'm going to do this is first, I want to keep my hands clean for the camera. If I'm using my hands to show you a part, the last thing I want you to do is focus on whatever's covering my hands. If I don't clean the trimmer, I'll have to wash my hands more than a dozen times while filming, which will slow down the progress of fixing it along with the filming. The other reason why I'm cleaning it is because if I decide to sell this trimmer, I want it to look as good as possible. Now, having sold a few items and having talked to other sellers, I found that most buyers are looking for a working machine that looks as new as possible, and to be honest, the newer it looks, the more money you can ask for. Now, it doesn't have to look brand new, but it needs to look as clean and as unused as possible. This doesn't mean you should lie about how old it is or that it's only been used once or twice, only that you wish to present the piece of equipment in a way that someone is willing to buy it. If you don't have any idea on how old it is or how used it is, I wouldn't mention it in the ad. Since I know the spark plug had a lot of carbon on it, I'm pretty certain that the spark arrestor screen is clogged with carbon as well. To check it, I'll have to remove the muffler and inspect the screen. Now, there's still some dirt and oil in and around the muffler, so I'm going to have to clean that as well. Since I have this opportunity, I'm going to look at the side of the piston and rings and see how badly they're damaged. Now, to see all of the piston, I'll have to rotate the engine, at which point I noticed just how much fuel was inside the engine. There's not supposed to be this much in here, which is why the engine didn't start. To be honest, the rings are worn, but it's not from abuse, just normal wear. Since the muffler is off the engine, I'll have to be careful not to get any water inside the engine. I don't have to get it spotless, but it certainly looks a lot better than before. Now, the muffler has a heat shield around it, so we need to remove the bolts to get it off the muffler. This is when we see a nasty surprise. The screen is built into the muffler and cannot be taken off. Now, it's hard to tell if the screen is clogged, so I'm going to assume that it's at least partially clogged. That means to fix it, at least temporarily, I'm going to have to get aggressive. Unfortunately, after drilling another opening in the outer part of the muffler, it turns out the screen is in this part as well. To get around this, I'm going to drill into the inner part of the muffler. Now, the chances of sparks making it out of this opening is very slim because of the path the exhaust has to take isn't direct. If I get a wild hair, I like to cut one of these open to show you what I mean. At this point, I'm going to blow out the shavings and then reinstall the muffler. So unfortunately, this is where I have to end the video. The reason I'm cutting it short is because this video is getting to be extremely long. In the rest of the video, we'll take off the carb, inspect it, clean it, and rebuild it if it needs it. Then we'll tackle the fuel lines, and hopefully by the end of the video, we'll get it running like it's supposed to. Another option to drilling a hole in the muffler would be to simply replace the muffler. However, at almost $45, I'd rather drill a hole in it than replace it. So in the end, it looks like this trimmer is in really good shape and it was not abused in the 6 years of use. More than likely the carb was flooding the engine, which is why it was having a hard time starting and running. So my question is, would you do what I did to the muffler and drill a hole in it right next to the outlet, or would you do it the right way and buy a new muffler? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.